And for us, this was a real. We wanted this to be a real reflection of our own experiences of how I speak vulnerably and openly. I have incredible friendship with men in my life that were developed later in life in ways uh, that may not be the norm, that weren't the norm for me, and now are. And I think it's a good place to start. I think that you need to have that, and I think it's important to highlight male vulnerability, men who are put family first, who love their kids, who their kids are the most important thing to them in their life, who aren't just driven by career or status or any of these other things. That family is important to them, and so when the family breaks down, what that experience is like, that they don't just sort of toughen up and go out into the world. They're like, no, men are crushed too. They feel pain as well.
Con Gaby Cam y Javier Ibarreche.
Hi, Will. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I would like to start the conversation saying, congratulations, what a beautiful movie. It really moved me.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you very much.
When I watched the film, it made me question love and relationships more than anything, especially knowing that it's based in, real events. So, what were those elements that you questioned while developing the movie?
Oh, many, everything. Um, yeah, it's funny. We were telling this story because we had this guide, obviously of the true story based on some of the events of John Bishop's life. Certainly how he came into stand up and how it allowed him to start talking and reuniting with his wife. As you start to write these elements and we started to really dig out who these people are and what had happened to them and what it was going to take for them to start to, communicate and talk. Uh, when you have conversations about that, especially in the writing process with Mark and Bradley, of course it makes you have all these moments where things dawn on you and you realize, I've been asked a million times, "Oh, what do you want people to take away from the film?" And that's a very common question. It's a good question to ask. And I always think like, well, who knows? What's funny is I took away so much from it in that process. I learned a lot from those other guys and from Laura and in conversations about it, just about what it takes to be open and to be honest about where you are. All these things. I mean, I've said it before. I've learned so much in the last couple of years. Not to say I'm an expert, but it started a lot of conversations for me about my own existence.
Mhm. And I think that's what movies do for us, like question everything and maybe change something in our lives and reflect with that story. I think that's great. And Alex is someone who's going through a lot. He's not having a great time, and it feels like we don't see many films where, or maybe none at all, that shows men's vulnerability and to be open about it. So, do you think that's something we should be seeing more of in the
Well,
movies?
yeah, I hope so. I think that we've seen a lot of examples historically of men sort of being men, and portrayed in a certain way. Um, and for us, this was a real. We wanted this to be a real reflection of our own experiences of how I speak vulnerably and openly. I have incredible friendship with men in my life that were developed later in life in ways that may not be the norm, that weren't the norm for me, and now are. And I think it's a good place to start. I think that you need to have that, and I think it's important to highlight male vulnerability, men who are put family first, who love their kids, who their kids are the most important thing to them in their life, who aren't just driven by career or status or any of these other things, that family's important to them. And so when the family breaks down, what that experience is like, that they don't just sort of toughen up and go out into the world. Like, no, men are crushed too. They feel pain as well. And this is a guy who is probably a product of a generation where he didn't know how to express himself, and he finds the thing that allows him to, and people in that community that allow him to start opening up and coming to, really start talking about where he's at. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, totally. And I hope a lot of men go to see this movie so they can question that and feel and open up about it. And also, many films sells us the idea that love has to be perfect and that there will never be problems along the way. But that seems to be the main issue for this couple, that they stopped communicating and that things build up and there were things left unsaid. So what is like the biggest lesson in this story that maybe couples that are going through something similar needs to learn from the story?
Well, I think, first of all, people change. We change. We're not the people we are when we first start, when we're young. I'm not the same man I was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Last week, we change. We're affected by experience. And we have to give each other, we use the word grace a lot in the film. We say it about, in fact, Andra Day's character sings Amazing Grace. We have to give each other that room to change, to grow. And, it's not always going to be perfect. We set ourselves up and maybe, I don't know, I don't know who's to blame. You could say like, oh, society, or we set ourselves up. We create these images of what we think it should be, a framework that we think a relationship should be. And we try to shove that, everything, our stuff in. And if it doesn't fit, we throw it out. And that's crazy. I remember I used to hear people always talking about this idea that, well, when you first meet somebody, everybody's on their best behavior. Right? And then after a while, you're not on your best behavior. I disagree. I think what it is when we first are with people, we focus on the things that we really like about them and that we love about them. And then as we go on, we stop focusing on those things. And it's a really easy shift to go, and I know that I've done this in my own life, to go back and go, no, wait, I gotta focus on the things I love about them. And I don't have to make it up. I can focus on things that I really do. This person is a great listener. This person is a kind person. This person is really loving. They're really considerate. They really do this, all these things. And if we but it's a process. It takes a little bit of work to just keep refocusing and give them the grace. We're all human beings, and they're having their own experience. And, we got to allow them to have that experience. And instead of having this sort of rigid set of ideas that we think of what it should be, that's crazy and a recipe for disaster. And that's what happens to these people. And that's why Tess says to Alex, yeah, we're unhappy. And it dawns on him. I'm unhappy in this marriage, not with this marriage. I want to be unhappy with you. There are going to be moments where it's not great, but I want to do it with you.
And Will, my time is finishing, but I was really curious about, to embrace your character, you had to do real stand-ups to practice. So what it was like to really dive into the character?
Yeah, doing stand-up, well, I mean, I got to do stand-up as Alex Novak. And so for about 6 weeks leading up to production, I was going 3 times a night. And then during the day, we were sort of rewriting the stand-up and then going back and doing it every night. And honestly, it was great. It was scary, even though I'm a performer, but also I was doing it. What was scary was going and doing it and knowing that I couldn't rely on winning the room. I had to go and be Alex Novak. So my assignment was very specific. Go and be be Alex Novak, be a guy who's never been on stage before, he's never performed. My instincts want to kick in to win out the room and say something funny. I can't. So even though every night there'll be people who know who I am, I had to kind of stick to this idea of be this character. And again, that was also a gift because I got to rehearse for 6 weeks with real audiences. It was amazing.
Wow, that's really interesting. Will, thank you very much for this conversation. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you here in Mexico really soon.
Thank you very much.
Con Gaby Cam y Javier Ibarreche.